Okay, so I'm Teresa Hutchins, New Forest Sewing Studio. This is our sew along we're doing for the MAISON FAUVE Dandelion jacket. And then Molly doing a bit of photo bomb. So yeah, it's a lovely jacket. It's I did the welt pockets, but you've got lots of options for pockets. You can do patch pockets or like a kangaroo pocket. I did the welt pockets. It's got gathers into a sort of waistband, they call it a belt around the bottom, and then it's got some pleats at the back, and the waistband is slightly curved. It's got a small raised collar. So yeah, that's it. Okay, so the first pieces we need, the first bit we need to do is the back section. Okay, so we need piece 4 and piece 5. So piece 4 is the back and piece 5 is the back yoke. Okay, so the first bit to do is the pleats at the bottom of the back. So that's shown here on the diagram. Okay, so that's the first bit to do. So I've gone through and I've gone around my pattern pieces and I've marked in all my notches here, which on this back piece is just marking your pleat bit at the bottom. So that's just in there. So I've just snipped very slightly, just less than the seam allowance into the seam just to make my notches. So then we'll open that out. And then we need to join those two notches together. So like so, pin them there. A pin. I'm going to pin that like that, and then I'm going to pin the other one as well. And then I think it wants us to, really looking at my instructions, I've not sewn this one before, so we need to stitch up 3 centimetres from the notch upwards to secure the front stitches. So let me just, like so. So we're just joining up those 2 notches from our pleat, okay, together there. It'll end up like that. You see, I need to choose dark fabric, don't I? Right, okay, so that's there. So that'll be our pleats in the back, and then you fold them towards the centre back once they're stitched. While we pinned that in place there, I'm going to make sure that's level along there, and then we are going to stitch it. So it wants us to stitch up about 3 centimetres. So I'm just going to pin there a wee bit as well, and then we'll measure up 3 centimetres. Just grab a measure and chalk or something, really chalk. There we go. So then we want to measure up 3 centimetres, so that will be to there. So I'm just going to put a little chalk mark where I'm going to go up to. Okay, so I'm literally, I'll draw it in. Okay, just so, just up to there, so from the bottom up to there, back stitch. Okay, I'm going to do that on both sides, so we'll just measure the other one again, make sure that's sat flat, put that in place, measure 3 centimetres up, which is there. Okay, so I'm just going to stitch up 3 centimetres on both of those. And then we need to press them, press each fold towards the centre back, and then we're going to pin the back yoke, the top of the back yoke up here to the, the top of the back here to the back yoke in a minute. So I'm just going to go and stitch those first. Just got to thread up my machine, I think, and then I'll be back. Okay, so that's the 2 pleats stitched in there. Okay. And I've also folded them towards the back. I haven't pressed them yet to try and avoid pressing too much on the velvet if I can. So I've just basted them, stitched them down, facing the folds facing towards the back. So that's those done. And now I'm going to do the top yoke on here. Actually, I don't know if I've done those right around. Yeah, on the reverse. Yeah, it's right around, right. So next we get the piece 5, which is the yoke piece. pins out of that one. One more. Okay, so then right sides together. We're going to put the yoke piece along the top of the jacket like that. Okay, so here's the pleats down here. This is the top part of the jacket, and we're going to put the face down on there. So we're going to pin that along the edge, and then we're going to stitch that in place and then top stitch along the seam. So I'm going to stitch the seam, then I'm going to overlock it, press it up towards the yoke, I should think. I can see that. Yeah, press it up towards the yoke. Oops, some pins. Oh, it's alive. Few pins in along there. There's no notches to join along the yoke top, but it sits exactly in place, so the pattern's cut well. So I'm going to stitch that in place along that seam there, and I'm going to overlock the edges, and then we're going to press the seam up towards the yoke piece and then top stitch along the top. Okay, so I'll show you when I've done that. Okay, so that's the back done. So that's top stitched along the yoke there. Put that to one side. There's tacks all over it. Right, okay, so the next bit we need to do is the, I'm going to do, so there's lots of options to do the, on the dandelion jacket, which pockets you do, but I'm going to do the welt pockets. Okay, so next I need piece 18 and piece 17, so these two. Okay, put that the right way. Yes. Okay, so those two. So so that's the large pocket lining piece, and this little facing piece, your pocket facing piece, is out of your main fabric. So it says to, in the instructions, it says to turn that longer edge here, so this longer side here without the notches, says to turn it under 1 centimetre, and then align that to your pocket piece. Okay, so as like that. Okay, but I didn't want it to be too bulky, layering up 2 lines of, you know, having a bit of a ridge in the seam. So I've decided to just overlock that edge. So the longer edge there, the unnotched edge, I've decided to overlock that edge, and then that sits nice and flat on the pocket piece there. So you want the right side, right side of your pocket piece. Okay, and then you just want to line that up, so you've got a notch on your pocket lining and a notch on your pocket facing. So we just line those 2 up on there, and then we do the same. We've got another notch both on your, try and do it so you can see, both on your pocket facing and on your pocket lining. Pin that in place as well there. Okay, and then just put another pin in between just to keep that all secure. There. And then just pin down along this other edge here, so right up the top there really. At the bottom, and then I just put one in that way. Like so. Okay, so then you've got 2 opposites for your pocket pieces. Okay, so then it wants you to just stitch to secure this all in place. So I'm just going to stitch around here about 0.5 centimetre in, 0.2 centimetres from the edge to secure the seam allowance. Okay. Oh no, that's the other one, sorry. Yeah, 0.2 centimetres from the edge. So just stitch around 0.2 centimetre, so just inside the edge of that, just to secure those in place. Okay, and then we'll be on to the next bit, which is sorting out the welt on the actual jacket front. Okay, so we've done, that's piece 16. so we've done both our pocket, it's messy here, right, done both our pocket pieces there, okay, and I've also overlocked down this side as well, because that's going to go in your welt. So I just wanted to neaten that off at the same time. The rest of the pocket you'll be able to neaten when you sew it together. So we'll put those to one side for a minute. So next it wants us to get piece 16, which is this one. What does it called it? The piping band, but it's the welt piece, it's called the piping band. So it wants us to get this piece and then right size, so we need to interface it, which it tells you on your pattern piece as well, and then it wants us to fold right sides together and that like so, and the same on that side. So do that on both pieces, and then it wants us to sew down these short edges where I pinned, so down this side here and down this side here. Then we're going to trim the corners and turn it in the right way and just give it a gentle press. Okay, so I'm going to do that on both pieces, and then I'll show you how we'll mark the welt piece onto the front, where to place it on the front of the jacket. Okay, so that's my welt piece done, that side. So all you do, once you've sewn it down the sides there, just clip your corner, just do a stitch in there, so both corners like so, thread at the same time, and then just trim, just grade your seam a bit, so trim one, so trim the corner and then just trimmed one side down, just trim the other side down, and the right side, yeah. Just like that, so that it's less less bulky, and then just turn it out. You can use a point turner just to gently poke out that corner to square that corner off, and that one there. Okay, and then give that a press. So always press it underneath. I've just got an old organza cloth here, or just some cotton or something, so give that a press, and then we'll mark this onto the front pattern piece. So I'll just press this. Okay, so I marked the corners, so the outer corners in this piece according to your size markings down the bottom there. I marked each corner with a tailor's tape, and then I just drew my square in with a chalk pencil and ruler, and then it just wants you to put some interfacing onto the reverse side. I've lost my tailor's tack there, so I might just have to put one back in. It wants you to put some, just a couple of strips of interfacing, just slightly larger than the area, just onto the wrong side of your fabric. So I'm going to iron those on, and just put that other tailor's tack in, and then we'll come back and position the pocket welts. So that's what we're aiming to do. So let me see if I can show you in reverse. Right, so that's what we need our pocket piece to line up like. So let's get this out of the way. So we want, first of all, we want your little pocket piece that we've sewn there, and that, I'm trying to do upside down now. Right, that needs to line up along the inside marking of your, it's just lining up right now. I'm just going to trim that up so it's easier to see. Right, so that lines up exactly with the inside marking of your square that you've drawn on. So it wants to line up with this piece here in the centre piece. Okay, so that way round. So with it, with the non-sewn neatened edge of your pocket flap down towards the centre front. Right, isn't it? Yeah. And then get your small pocket bag, lining, and then that is going to sit over the top. Now you've got 2 little notches, just tucked in, barely see, but 2 little notches on the edge of my lining piece there, and your notches line up with the end of your welt pocket piece there. So I'm going to pin that in place. You have got to try and, to get a nice welt pocket, you just need to try and be as accurate as you can, really, just to get everything lined up and it's that nice. So it's a little bit fiddly, but it's worth just spending a bit of time to try and get it nicely aligned. Put one in there, and then one in the middle there, just to make sure that all lines up properly. And then I'm going to put, so we're only going to sew to where your lines are. So we're just sewing to the end of where this, where your pocket flap bit, that bit is. So I just put a pin right in the end where that is, where that finishes, which should be where your notch is on your pocket lining. I'll just put a pin in there the other way round. Also, it just helps keep that secure right at the end. Oops, can't see what I'm doing in this direction. There we go, in like that. Okay, and then we're going to stitch from here. So just from the edge of your pocket piece there, we're going to stitch along there. Okay, I'm going to do that on both pieces. And then we'll join these other pocket bags to this side, and then it will all turn, then we'll cut it and it will all turn inside. I think that's right. Yes. Okay, so we'll do that first. Okay, so that's oops, that's our pocket bag piece sewn on. And that one the same, just move that out of the way. Okay, that one the same. So next we're going to put our piece that we've sewn previously, a large pocket bag, on. So you line it up along that line where I had before. So we should have some notches in it, which should line up a little bit. There we go. So make sure that those seams are sat together there. And then we're just going to pin that in place. So I want it to there. Check that on the other side in a minute with my markings. And that one there. Take this tacks. Couple in here. And then we're going to sew down here a centimetre seam from the middle. There we go. So like that. So I'm just going to check that I've got that in the right place. Like so. Yeah, that's right. Just check it with my markings on the back. A bit out on that one. That's near enough. No, a little bit out. Let's just adjust that a minute. Just trying to line it up with the end of my, so where I've got my lines drawn on the other side, I can see that I'm lining up the end piece. So I'm going to pin the other one, and then we're just going to stitch from there to there, a centimetre from this centre line here. So I'm going to stitch down there like that. Okay, and then next we I think next we cut through and fold it all to the other side, and that's when it starts to look a bit more like a pocket. Okay, so I'm going to pin this one, sew those, and I'll be back then. Okay, so whoops. Now it's just doing our welt pocket, so I have turned this one out ready, but I'll show you what we do. So just think I haven't done the pleats yet. I told you to do those yet. No, right, okay. So this is as we've had it here. So we've stitched both of these pocket bags down here, either side of the welt markings. So next it wants you to cut through this centre bit. So if you look through, you should be able to see your markings you've had before. So it should be, you should have a line roughly in the centre. You need to cut through that line of your main piece of your fabric. So up to where you had the notch marked. My chalk marks have disappeared a wee bit, but so up to where you've got a chalk mark, and then at an angle, I'll cut it and then show you. You need to see what I'm doing. Cut into the corner where your welt piece there finishes, and again the other side. So I'll show you on the pattern piece, probably be easier to show you on there. Stay over there. I'm going to be quite precise if you can, getting right into the corners, and then turn it round, do the same up the other way. And the line. About there. Up to there. Up to there. Okay, so I'll show you on the back actually, that's probably easier. So that's like that, cut through, okay. So you're just cutting up this middle line here, cutting up the middle line on your pattern piece, and then snipping up into the corners there. Snipping up into these corners on each end. Okay, so then you're able to put that through the jacket front, like so. Just flip it over to the wrong side, and then just pull those pieces gently through, like so. Looks a bit funny at the moment, but once you give it a press, it sits nice. So that bit goes up that way. So that's how you've got it at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to go and give that a press, and you've got your little triangle. You should have some little triangles come through there. I don't know if I can show you them. Little triangle pieces here. One there and one there on each end. Those fold over to the wrong side and press over there. So I'm going to go and press that, and then I'll show you how we pin the pocket bag together. Okay, so I've pressed that all through. Okay, so I've got my little triangles going each way. That's pressed nicely that way, and then that presses over there, and your front pocket pieces, front pocket welt flap presses up that way. Okay, so now we want to pin these pieces together. So I'm going to turn it up that way and fold it back here, and then you just need to get your little triangle pieces there. Let me pin it, and then I might be able to show you a bit easier. So you might find, if you've got bulky fabric, you might find you need a zipper foot just to do this bit. Let me do the other one, and then I will show you. So just pin those little triangles in place. So let's see what I'm doing with this one. So I've got it. Pin that piece there. Pin around the rest of your pocket. So we're going to sew around the pockets. I am going to overlock around the edge of my pocket. You don't have to if you're happy your fabric's not fraying at all, then that's fine. And although the corduroy's not fraying, the velvet's not fraying, then but my lining is So I am going to overlock around the edge of these pockets, but otherwise you don't necessarily need to for neatness, because we're going to line, it's a lined jacket, so these pockets will be enclosed in the lining. So that's all that pinned in place. Okay, so the welt pieces, we just need to pin them like so on there. Okay, and we need to sew it along as tight as you can in right into that edge. So you might find a zipper foot or something will be easier if you've particularly got bulky fabric or something. Okay, so I'm going to go and sew those and then overlock around those edges, and then we just have to top stitch these welt pocket bits in place. Okay, so I'll do that next. Okay, so that's those stitched in place and overlocked on both of those. So now I'm going to now it wants you to just keep that out of the way. That's a pin in there to keep that out of the way for a minute. Keep that out of the way, right? So then it just wants you to top stitch just along the edge there of your the flap of your welt pocket flap. Okay, so just to secure and stitch along about 0.2 millimeters, sorry, 2 millimeters from the edge of that welt pocket piece. So I'm going to stitch those. I'll show you that, and then we'll probably carry on tomorrow, but I'll stitch those first and show you that. So that's our welt pockets, just top stitched each end of the welt pocket there, and so that is your welt pocket. So it's quite nice where you've got the facing, where you put the extra piece on your large pocket of your velvet, so that sits in there, so you've got a nice, you don't see your lining fabric till much deeper in the pocket. So that's my welt pocket there. So that's both those fronts done. Okay, so we've done the fronts and the backs of the jacket now, so we're just going to join it together, join the front to the back at the side seams and the shoulder seams. So I've pinned those in place just together at the top, and as my fabrics has got a slight stretch to it, I've just decided to put some bias tape just along the top there on one of the sides, just so that it gives some support there, because I don't want my shoulder stretching out, because my fabric has got a little bit of stretch. So I'm going to put that along there. So I'm going to sew those side seams and the shoulder seams, and then I'll press those seams open, and then after that I think it is either the sleeves or the collar. Let me just have a look where we're up to. Yeah, then I think it's putting the collar on once we've stitched those. So yeah, so we'll do this. I'll do these seams first, and then we'll do the collar piece. So I put some different lighting on because it's a really overcast day out there today. It looks really, really dull here in the UK. So it does. I've sewn the shoulder seams and the side seams there, and press those all open. I did overlock them as well, but you don't have to, as it is a lined jacket, so you don't necessarily have to. Now it does say to do the sleeves next, but I do prefer to do some of the collar if I can before I put the sleeves in. Just it's less bulkiness when putting the sleeve in, really. So I'm going to do the collar piece next. So you should have two collar pieces, both interfaced. So yeah, both interfaced for those. And then I'm going to just take one of those and attach it right sides together to my jacket neckline. So you've got some notches here on each side, little notches there, which are here on your pattern piece, just according to your correct size. And they will join up with the, I've lost it now, where's it gone? They will join up with the shoulder seam. So I'm just going to put a pin in there. goes round onto there, I think pretty much sitting, yeah, square on. So that goes onto there, and then I just, so you just need to be careful fitting it, because obviously it's a, you know, you've got a round shape into a gap like that. So it's easiest just to position it like that, then pin in the middle. Like so, and then pin again. See what I'm doing. And then pin in the middle again. There we go. So you fit that shape nicely round onto there. Okay, so then we'll fit the other shoulder seam there. So find your other notch, join it to that other shoulder seam there. On there. I'm going to join this side again first. So again, join it to the edge of your front piece there. In that, then just find it easier to sew if you've got less, particularly if you're not used to putting collars in. Then if you haven't got the sleeves attached as well, there's less sort of weight and bulkiness to your project while you're trying to work on it. So sometimes if you can do the collar next, then it helps. We can't do all of the collar because some of it's attached to the lining. We need to do the sleeves first, so but we can do some of it attaching this piece. So then we're just going to find the centre of there. You can mark the centre if you're unsure. You can mark the centre of your collar and the centre of your back yoke at the neck, just to help you as well if you wanted to. Get it all lined up. So I'm going to stitch that in, and then we are going to do the sleeves next, because we can't do the rest of the collar until we've done the lining on the instructions. Yeah, so we'll do the sleeves next. So we'll get this piece in first. Make sure that's in nice and neatly. Quite a nice little stand-up collar on this jacket. So yeah, so that's all pinned in. I'm going to go and stitch that, and then that will all press down, and then that will be your collar fitted. So I'll go and stitch that first. Okay, so that's the collar stitched in. That's from the back there. So just go around and check you've got no sort of puckers. If you have, just undo that little bit and then ease it back in, and then that's round at the front so far. Okay, so I'll put that to one side, and then we do need to do the sleeves next. So I'll get both the sleeve pieces. You've got your back sleeve, and then you've got your front sleeve. Just put the rest of that collar over there out of the way for a minute. Oh, move that. Right. Buttons. Press that. Right. Okay, so just take both pieces off then. One over there. And that one over there. Right, so then you've got your pieces here, and the seam it wants us to join is the longer seam, isn't it? So the seam we need to join first of all is this longer seam here. Okay, so we've basically got those two together like so. Let me just move those over, you might be able to see a bit easier. Over the way. Okay, so that's those two pieces like that. So those are the two we're going to join together. So if we just put that, fold that over. Just make sure I don't pin it to the other one. So let's put that to one side, and then we can join these two together like so. Okay, so you've got some notches that join up there. Pins. So we're just going to pin this together, and then we are going to stitch down these side seams. I don't know if it says to top stitch these. Oops, get that lined up. Pins are alive this morning. Right, got a notch in the middle there of the sleeve, so that will line up there. That's important on a sleeve. Sometimes you get a bit of easing in certain parts of the sleeve that you'll need to do, but this sits fairly flat in actually, so edges. Okay, so I'm going to do the same with the other one. I'm going to stitch down there. I think I probably will top stitch down my back sleeve because I have done on the back of the yoke, but it doesn't say to do that, but that's just out of choice. So I'm going to stitch these, overlock them together, press them towards the back of the sleeve, the main part. I'm going to top stitch it. Okay, and then I'll be back and then we'll stitch the other side. Okay, so I've sewn both the sleeve seams, the seam there on the top, and then I've overlocked it, pressed it towards the main piece of the sleeve, and then just top stitched it down. It doesn't say to do that, but as I've got top stitching along the back yoke, I just wanted to have that bit top stitched because that will join up with that on the when we insert the sleeve. So I decided to do that. So next we just need to then sew the other sleeve seam together. So just pin those two together and sew that down there. Okay, so I've done that on the other sleeve, so that's all sewn together. Those I did overlock the edges, as I say, you don't have to, but this just to prolong the life of the velvet really, I just did overlock the edges, and then I've sewn the seam down there and then press the seam open. So then we want to turn that sleeve in the right way. So that's in the right side, right way out. Okay, like so. Okay, and then we're going to get the main part of the jacket. Threads everywhere. Main part of the jacket, we want that inside out, like so. Okay, and then we're going to put the sleeve into the jacket. So I'll just sort out which side this is. So that's this side. Okay, so just to show you in the picture. So we're going to put the sleeve inside the jacket. So we've got the jacket inside out and the sleeve right side out. Okay, and we're going to put that inside. And the first bit to line up, the easiest way to do it is the first bit to line up is the underarm seam with the side seam there. From the inside, because that's the way I'm going to sew it. And then we should have a notch at the top of your sleeve which joins your shoulder seam. Okay, so we're going to pin that one next once we get lined up. The velvet wants to move out. There we go. So we're going to pin that one. And then you've got a notch on the front of your sleeve and the front of the jacket. I'm going to pin that one. Pin a bit in between just to get this little bit flapping about. Okay, and then round on the back of the sleeve, your back sleeve seam will join with your yoke seam. Okay, so there, so your yoke seam there will join with the back sleeve seam, which is why I wanted to top stitch both. And if we can, we'll get that lined up. Pretty well, I think. I'll check that in a minute. Okay, so that's that. So then we're just going to pin in between, just lining up your sleeve pieces. I pin from the inside because that's the way it's find it easiest to sew the sleeve. Just trying to show you as I do it. That's that one. one. And then here you might just have a little bit of easing on the back of the sleeve. So just line it up in the middle, pin it, line it up in the middle. Pin it. Line it up in the middle. Pin it. And again, line that up in the middle. Trying to get both your edges together. Oh, just move out. There we go. Pin it. You need quite a few pins on the sleeve just to get it set in right. You can tack it in if you'd rather tack it in and check you got it all fitted right before you sew it, but I'm quite happy just to go ahead with the pins. But if if you're in any doubt, then you can always tack it round first before you sew. Okay, so that's that all pinned in place. I'm going to stitch that. I'll do the other sleeve, obviously do the hem, sew that together, put the other sleeve in, and then I think it's onto the lining of the jacket. So we'll do that next. So that's our sleeves sewn in. So I managed to line up what I was trying to explain earlier, to line up your top stitching on your sleeve if you've done it there, for those seams at the back. So that's all sewn in on both sides. So put that to one side for a moment.